So before I dive into my full review, I just want to put out there that this is my experience and my opinions on the game. I know everybody's going to have a different experience as the optimization on launch was a bit rocky, but for me, I haven't had really any issues performance-wise. The only thing I can really complain about would be the camera bug, and I'll dive deep into that with my full-on complaints later on. But for me, this is my opinions, my review, so you don't have to relate to it. This is just what I experienced, so let's get into it. So starting off talking about performance, for me the game has been running absolutely buttery smooth. I'm at the highest settings playing just fine. Combat feels great, the environment feels great. They did have to dumb it down on mobile a little bit to get those visuals looking nice so that the game could even run. Otherwise it still looks really good for a mobile game. Obviously the controls can be hard to get used to at the start for combat, but overall I think performance has been very good for me so far, and I'm absolutely enjoying it on my device, but I am running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so that is why it is so good. And now continuing on that point, for me it's been very good. I know it's not the case for everybody, and that really sucks that the launch was not able to be well optimized enough to run good on everybody's devices. For me, I've had a good experience, but I feel bad for anybody that has struggled really hard with the game. I do hope it does get better. They have been releasing hotfixes and patches, but that would be just the most negative when it comes to performance overall for the game, is that it was under optimized, unfortunately, but that is only expected with Unreal Engine, so we can only wait to see what happens from here on the performance wise. But I'm going to jump into my next point. Now, I think a positive to a game that has such intense combat like this is being able to edit your on-screen controls or connecting a external device like a gamepad or a controller to play with, just to make the experience on a mobile a little bit easier so you don't have to hold your phone in your hand. It's getting hot in your hand while you're playing since it's such a demanding game. But overall, the on-screen control editing tab is actually pretty nice. You can change the size. As you can see on screen, I have it in the bottom right, pretty tiny. You can change the transparency on it if you want it to go a little bit dimmer. It is a very nice device, and you can find it in the settings under the controller tab. Overall, I really enjoy being able to edit the controls to make it feel more comfortable. Also allows me to see more of the screen so I can pay attention a little bit better, and it's a great feature overall. I'm very glad that they have it. I know some people haven't been able to see it. I do believe that's just a bug. I don't know why it's not there for everybody, but for the most part you should see it right underneath the controller settings. Now, a major downside is the lack of Bluetooth controller support or external controller support on release. There really isn't a automatic connection right now at the moment. You kind of have to riggy-jig it up to make it work. There is devices that do have software that allows you to map the controls on screen that you can get, like the Backbone, or I do believe their Razer Kishi works as well with that. My device also allows to map with the controller on screen. I use a gaming handheld. I use the Ayn Odin 2, or Ayn Odin 2 as some people call it. It is a great device. If you want to get a controller, I always recommend getting the Backbone for external controllers anyways, because it's basically giving you that handheld experience. But for some people that like to prop the screen up with like a Bluetooth controller or a PS5 controller, there really isn't full support on that yet, so that is a downside. But for me, when it comes to controller support, since I have that mapping feature, it has been a blast to play on controller as well. It definitely makes the combat a lot easier to do compared to playing with the on-screen controls, but I do a mixture of both because I have a handheld device. I can't map every button on the screen to controls on my handheld, so I kind of use both anyways, and it's been a very pleasant experience, to be honest. I am very surprised how easy it is to eventually get used to the combat and play it, so that is a plus. I do hope they get that full controller support down the line for those people that do have controllers that they bought for the game, and that is all I have for the controller section. Now, I am going to jump into a negative, unfortunately, with how good the game looks and just how demanding it is. This game just makes your device pretty hot, and it's draining that battery very fast. They have released some hotfixes to help with the heat, but overall, a lot of the times you can just see just an exponential amount of heat coming out of your device depending on what you have. Luckily for me, I have a pretty good cooling system, but even with that being the case, it does get decently hot sometimes, and the battery does drain pretty fast depending on how high your screen brightness is, depending on the workload that you're pushing on it. For the most part, my device has pretty good battery life, but for such a demanding mobile game like this, the heat and the battery drain is such an unfortunate thing, because you really want to be able to enjoy playing the game. And a lot of people that only have mobile devices to play with, they want to be able to play the game and get their stuff done without it dying so quickly. And that is a downside of such a demanding game, and that is really my only major complaint about the game, is the heat coming from it on mobile, and then just the overall battery drain as well from the workload. Now, for most people, I do want to say this game isn't for everybody. There is a challenging amount of skill that you have to get used to on the mobile aspect. It really isn't built around mobile per se. It's more built around the PC platform. It still looks great and runs great on mobile, but when it comes to like those boss mechanics, the fast-paced combat, that is something you're going to have to get used to, I think. The mobile controls can be hard to get used to, but over time I think you'll be fine with it. I think the major issue would just be the overall performance and optimization for a lot of people. I hope it gets better. They're releasing some more patches, so I think if you still are having issues, maybe wait a few more updates before you come back to the game. I mean, it is a great time to start playing the game, as they have given you a 5-star selector now, multiple banners to pull for 5 stars. You're basically able to get a full 5-star team basically for free. You're getting a bunch of pulls as well for coming back, just because the devs are releasing rewards for how rocky and unfortunate the release was. So I just wait for maybe a few more updates, but for me, I've had nothing but a good experience on mobile. It's been very fun, and it's been an absolute treat so far. Now, wrapping it up, this really isn't issues with mobile per se, it's just the game in general. I think the bugs that have been happening do need to get fixed, like the camera bugs with the random lock and change in directions was a major bug that was around in the closed beta test. That is one thing that I do think needs to get changed. The English voice direction has been another issue I've had. They are going to fix that for the future apparently, so that is good to hear. As well as the story. It wasn't very good at the start, but they were cooking up a bit at the ending, so I do hope it does get better for future patches for people that enjoy story-based games. For me, I care more about the gameplay anyway, so that doesn't really matter so much. Overall, the content in the game right now is fine. I think the few game modes that you have to play will be enough to keep you satisfied until the next update, and especially just farming echoes on the daily to try to get the perfect sets. My only complaint is the lack of echo XP and the cost of the tacit fields if you want to get more XP. I don't know how much better the rewards are going to get as you level up through union levels. I will maybe make another video on that, but for now I do feel like it's kind of underwhelming, so maybe they will change that for the future. But for me, I'm going to give the final mobile review rating probably like a 7 out of 10 experience. I think just because of some of the bugs you can experience, it's been like a 7 out of 10. Performance wise, it's like an 8, maybe a 9 out of 10. It's a very smooth game, and it looks visually very, very good. I know that's not the same for everybody, but for me at least, it is an amazing visual experience. I know it is dumbed down a bit on mobile, but it's still like an 8 to 9 out of 10 visually, and it's very fun. So I think, even with the rocky start, you could still consider trying the game. If it isn't still running that good, I might just say wait until patch 1.1 to come and play. You'll still be able to get all the rewards. Like I said, there's no better time to start playing than now with all the free stuff they gave away. So that is all I got for today's video, and that is my full mobile review of Wuthering Waves.